Hey, it is Greg Milby, Kentucky's Heartland, kentuckysheartland.com, sharing stories, people, and events that are powering the Heartland. And one of the places that is definitely powering the Heartland is Bernheim Forest. Dr. Mark Wourms is with me, Executive Director at Bernheim. And we wanted to come today and talk to Dr. Mark about, seeing a lot of information about things that we do not like that could potentially happen to Bernheim. Let's just be honest. There are two projects that could, and I'm going to say could because I'm being positive on this deal, could affect Bernheim. We're talking an LG&E Pipeline, and we're talking a I-65, I-71 corridor through Bernheim. So we love Bernheim and we love what it does to our region. What does the pipeline and the road connector, how does that affect Bernheim?
Well, they could be just a horrible mess for the integrity of our forest. And to really understand that, we need to step back about 90 years because Bernheim is celebrating its 90th anniversary. Isaac Wolf Bernheim gave this land to the people of Kentucky because he wanted to thank them for allowing him to live that American dream, where he came over as a poor Jewish immigrant, made his way through really entrepreneurism, and then became a baron of bourbon and started the I.W. Harper brand bourbon. And at the age of 65, he decided he wanted to thank the people of Kentucky for the life he was able to build. And he did that because he knew nature was restorative and regenerative and important to all people. And so in 1929, he said that Bernheim will be available to all people regardless of race, creed, or economic status. Jump forward 90 years. We're celebrating this wonderful thing where hundreds of thousands of people come to Bernheim every year. And suddenly we have two threats facing Bernheim. A proposed LG&E natural gas pipeline cutting across some newly acquired conservation land that we purchased using public mitigation funds to help protect bats and water and habitat for thousands of species of plants and animals. And now they want to cut a shortcut across this conservation land, break the first conservation easement that protects that land, a legal conservation easement, and LG&E wants to break an easement for the first time in their history by coming across Bernheim. That's a threat. It's a threat not only to that land, but it's a threat to every protected land in the state, in the region, and the country. Because every time you break a conservation easement, it makes it easier for the next one to be broken.
So this is an initial battle for potential battles down the road.
This sets a precedent that's really dangerous, and it's a seizure of land, and everybody should take the seizure of land, private land, very, very seriously. And so we're fighting this because it's the right thing for Bernheim, it's the right thing for wildlife and endangered species that we strive to protect. It's the right thing for healthy communities, protecting clean air, clean water, beauty. And we're fighting this for the good of conservation land everywhere. So we can talk more about that. The second threat is as grave or worse, and it doesn't sound that bad because it's just a study. But the Department of Transportation is doing a $2 million study where they want to put through another connector bypass. And so what that is, it's from I-65 up to I-71. And in Louisville, we already have the Watterson Expressway, 264, that goes around. We already have the Gene Snyder Expressway, 265, that comes around connecting those two. And now they want to push another major highway around to the south. And 3 or 4 of those study routes would go through Bernheim land. Again, the same conservation land, these beautiful springs, streams, forests would all be blown to smithereens in that construction of a highway. So what we're saying is that Bernheim's not against development. And our board of trustees voted that we are not against development, but we are against the taking of Bernheim land for either of these purposes or any other purpose that doesn't involve conservation.
All right, so the the road connector, the corridor, that is in a study phase. So that's, I mean, you've got to keep that on your radar, and you got to, now I guess will be the time to kind of close that down because you're in the early stages. But let's talk about the pipeline a little bit too, because LG&E has of course filed, you know, in court now to take over, and have done that with other properties in the area. But you're getting some support too from the state level. Let's talk about Attorney General Andy Beshear and him actually stepping forward earlier this week, talking about that he wants to investigate this further. How is that going to help Bernheim? I mean, because in a way, when you're talking about eminent domain and things, you know, it's David and Goliath. But now I think David now has a bigger stone.
Right.
So what does that mean for Bernheim in this fight?
Well, Bernheim is facing an uphill legal battle because the energy companies have all the cards stacked in their favor when it comes to courts and those kinds of things. But we can win this battle. Because the court of public opinion is very powerful as well, and everybody's voice needs to be heard on both of these issues. The fact that the Attorney General has stepped in, he stepped in because LG&E he believes that LG&E may not have gone through proper process, and that there may be pipeline safety concerns that may or may not have been dealt with well enough. And so the Attorney General wants to expand the scope of the investigation of information around this issue. I can't speak for the Attorney General's office, but what I can tell you is that some of his same concerns are the concerns that we cited in our complaint against the Public Service Commission and LG&E. That there wasn't proper process in notifying the community or Bernheim or anybody up and down this 12-mile.
There was no public hearing. There was no.
There was nothing. It was tucked away in a 100-some page document that was a rate increase, and then it said, "Oh, and we will, add a pipeline." It was literally that secretive, and they kept it secret for 3 years. So, we say that that's not proper process. And there's other issues around this as well. So the fact that the AG's office stepped in kind of gives us a hope that others are seeing the same thing we're seeing, and we'll see what happens.
You know, as I look around the sassafras room here, we have the giants on the wall in photos, and as you come into Bernheim, you see that, 250,000 people a year come to Bernheim, but over the last few months, that number has gone up so much more.
Dramatically.
And as a baseball fan, the Field of Dreams is, that movie where you talk about they line, you build it, they will come. That is truly the case for the 90th anniversary of Bernheim. Thomas Dambo built these things, and people have came in droves. How is that going to help your fight? Because I think there is even more of a, people love Bernheim. They come hike here. They come enjoy nature here. They come run here.
Right.
Now you've got so many more people that maybe haven't been here in years, or maybe they hadn't been before, to come to see the giants.
Right.
How do we as a community help you do that? Because I know public opinion is big. What can we do to help?
Well, first of all, we're on track to have something like 400 to 500,000 visitors this year. So we're really bringing them through the gates.
Overachiever, you.
And and it's fun because we've got all 50 states represented. We've got dozens of foreign countries represented in our visitorship. We are putting heads in beds. We are an ecotourism driver right now for this community, which means that it's good for the Bourbon Trail, it's good for Shepherdsville and Bardstown and E-Town and Louisville and everywhere around when you have people coming up and down I-65 and they're stopping in to see these forest giants in the giant forest. Let us remember that Thomas Dambo's art is about using recycled wood. It's about showing that we as humans can use scrap and create beauty. It is also about the forest giants are here to protect giant forests. And forests of this size are extremely rare. We are the largest privately held forest in the eastern United States with a mission of conservation and education. That's rare. That's to be celebrated. That's a national treasure. And that's what the tourism is doing. It's waking people up to the fact that Bernheim is a rare entity. It should not be subdivided and used as a shortcut. It should be kept intact. And we have been here for 90 years. We want to be here for 90 more and 900 after that. And the only way we do that is if we keep intact, we keep fighting off these kinds of threats. These won't be the last of them. So how do people help? Well, there's a lot of ways. One is your voice is incredibly important. Everybody's voice is incredibly important. Get out there, sign petitions. We have information online. forestunderthreat.com is that URL. That will bring you all kinds of information about who to write, who to send emails to, how to sign petitions. Come to some of our workshops that we're having. We're calling them Bernheim Under Threat road shows, and those are happening throughout Louisville, in Bardstown, in E-Town, in Lexington. They're coming up. That information is on our website as well. And of course, the most important thing is to talk to everybody you know, because the voice, people expressing their concern, is absolutely critical. So that's what you can do to start.
All right, and we're also going to have some yard signs, and we're going to show you the graphic right now, these yard signs that you can see. And I think Sarah, who's behind the scenes, we'll just show you what the yard sign looks like too. Say Bernheim Forest. That is the wonderful graphic. Look at that, it is pretty. And we'll show you that in graphic form as well, so you can see that. But you know, Bernheim is, as somebody that runs, I love this place, and I've mentioned it to you before because it is just absolutely beautiful. Yeah, it's a horrible place to run if you don't want to run hills. But it's such a beautiful place, and now when you've added the giants in, and just so much a part of nature. And I know you've got some secret weapons here and there that we're trying to work on, because fighting this battle, you got people everywhere. But let's talk about in May. This past May, we found a little creature here. We found a new snail. Yeah. When we talk about the Indiana bat, and you talk about some of the other endangered species that we're trying to protect, will this snail potentially become a secret weapon in the fight to keep Bernheim the way it is now? You know, the interesting thing is we've actually found 2 snails that are extremely rare. By the way, we're talking about a spring snail. The thing is 1/10 of an inch long. I'm all into little things like that. But and they've been looking for a while to find this thing, and now we found it. The hidden spring snail is about the size of a pinhead, and it is blind. It only lives in pristine streams and springs, mostly underground in caves. And it's only been found from a handful of places on Earth, and had not been seen alive for over 20 years, for 2 decades. And they found one right here at Bernheim, and it happens to be right in the path of this pipeline. That pipeline will cut 4,000 feet of forest up to 75 feet wide. That's a big swath. The problem is, and then the company says, well, once we dig it in, we'll restore the land. The problem is, the minute you cut those trees off of that habitat, those small creatures like the hidden spring snail and this other rare one, the bluff vertigo snail, which is found on limestone rocks from only 30 places on Earth, the minute you cut those trees, they bake. They're done. That's it. And so will they stop this pipeline? Probably not, unless people say they care. Because the problem is, these snails are so rare, science doesn't know enough about them to even have them listed on the endangered species list. Wow. So they are so rare, we don't even know how rare they are. That's the irony here. But you can say that about a lot of things. We're still discovering species on this land. Bernheim knows more about our land than almost any other organization. And it's really important that we protect those creatures that can't speak for themselves. That's it. So it's worth the fight. And we talked about the Save Bernheim Forest yard signs that you get. Those will be available at Vibe Coffee. You can pick those up while they last, and I'm sure we'll be able to replenish those if something were to happen with that. But there are so many events that go on at Bernheim too that, as you're celebrating your 90th, it's not just, you're not just stepping up your game for the 90th. You guys have events all the time. And we're recording this on a Friday, and if you're watching this past the date, there's an event that happens that, putting lights on the giants, and you're drawing people in here to
Right.
see nature, not just in the daytime, but to see how it operates at night and what is the beauty of Bernheim. And that would be a shame to see that kind of be affected.
Well, we have the Louisville Astronomy Society out here all the time doing night walks and stargazing, and we're one of those black skies. We've got a dark sky, which is really rare anywhere, particularly in the eastern United States. And so there's all of those kinds of things. But remember, this is about connecting people with nature, and connecting people with nature is important for quality of life. It's important for health. It's important for the spirit. It's important all around for society. And so when we have 400 or 500,000 people out here connecting with nature, we're adding a quality of life to this region. We're bringing young people in for jobs. We're making this a great place to live and play and visit. And so Bernheim is about nature, but we believe nature is about being human. And so we want everybody to understand that Bernheim adds to a quality of life. We're adding to the economy. We're adding to clean air, clean water. We make it a healthier place to live. And of course, we reach well beyond Bernheim with activities. We have an education program with Jim Beam supports, which is called the Jim Beam Natural Water Sanctuary Alliance at Bernheim. And they help us reach out and support our water education programs. We have green roofs in Louisville that we maintain under contracts to help mitigate the heat island effect. These are things that you say, oh, it's a forest, but really Bernheim is about community. It's about improving the quality of life for everybody. And unfortunately, for the first time in 90 years, these two threats, and that's what they are Bernheim is facing two threats.
Yeah, I mean, we got to fight for it because once it's affected, it's affected. So Bernheim Forest, Dr. Mark, they're doing great work here, and we wanted to tell you, we wanted to get you up to date with what's going on with these two potential projects that will or could affect Bernheim Forest. If you're watching at Kentucky'sHeartland.com, below this video, you will find a bunch of information that will link you to Bernheim Forest to see how you can help in this fight. If you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on Instagram, you can go to Kentucky'sHeartland.com and find that. Also, make sure you go to the community calendar. There are events at Bernheim. We have those listed on our community calendar for you as well, so you can come out and see the beauty that is Bernheim Forest. Dr. Mark, appreciate the time.
Thank you so much.
Always good to get to come out and hang out in your playground.
All right. Well, it's here for everyone.
There you go. Dr. Mark Wourms, Bernheim Forest. I'm Greg Milby, community storyteller, and this is Kentucky's Heartland.